The Bitcoin halving is not priced in. And we're going to be talking about this in a lot more detail in today's video because historically, whenever we've seen a halving, we've seen phenomenal upside in Bitcoin's price action, every time breaking beyond its old all-time highs, rallying to new all-time highs and beyond. And of course, we've seen the same thing happen in this cycle, which is only a testament to this chart preceding that upside, being a predictive indicator of the upside. So we'll be talking about this chart and a lot more in today's video. So subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in the future. Like this video if you enjoy content like this going forward, and let's dive right into it. The halving every 4 years, always preceding a fantastic surge in Bitcoin's price action towards new all-time highs. It's been the case every 4 years that we break to new all-time highs, and whenever we do, we just see phenomenal parabolic price action to new all-time highs and beyond. It's been the case in every 4-year cycle dictated by the halving that we see this price action. And actually at this point in the cycle, we've seen new all-time highs. We'll move on to the next chart in just a second, but we've seen new all-time highs already, but we've been consolidating for a long time, but we've already seen this upside occur. And so breaking to new all-time highs once again is only a matter of time, and we'll see a further surge in that price action. And of course, this is not on the logarithmic scale, so I don't expect price to be rallying to 400,000 or whatever the case may be, but this is a good illustration of what just happens when we break to new all-time highs. And historically speaking, it has taken price around 160 days after the halving, where we see reaccumulation. In its post-halving reaccumulation phase, we tend to see consolidation for over 150 days before finally seeing a breakout to a parabolic rally which lasts multiple months. So a breakout from this reaccumulation range is really important because historically we've seen fantastic upside develop from that breakout, and we're currently in a reaccumulation period again in this cycle. This is post-halving reaccumulation, and of course the very beginning of that reaccumulation range tends to begin just before the halving, just like we saw right over here as well, but most of it develops after the halving for many months. So this current range could last up to 160 days if we're lucky, but we're already seeing phenomenal upside in this range. So rallying to this range high resistance is the next target for Bitcoin. We could see some upside wicking beyond here if Bitcoin isn't ready to break to new all-time highs just yet, because remember, in the past we've seen rejections from this range high resistance ending up in a retracement, and we've seen that occur also in this range. So technically there is scope for rejection at this range high, because every time we've seen a initial attempt to get to the range high resistance after the halving, that first attempt after the halving is one that rejects, and then we've seen fantastic upside afterwards, but still we did see a rejection later on. So the key point to mention here is that first rejection, or at least that first revisit of the range high, which is pretty much new all-time highs essentially, or old all-time highs depending on how you view it. That first attempt after the halving will and tends to precede a rejection. So we are going to likely revisit this in the near future, this range high, but if we're lucky, we'll get a rejection, and history suggests that we might have a good chance of getting that rejection to prompt further consolidation inside this range, which is going to stretch out this range as long as possible, and the longer the better, because historically we tend to see up to 150 days a reaccumulation like this occur. And in this cycle where we're seeing a rate of acceleration by 260 days, where we saw new all-time highs prior to the halving for the first time ever, because of course we tend to see new all-time highs, or have tended to see new all-time highs in the post-halving period, the fact that we're in a accelerated cycle at this time, the longer we consolidate here, the better for Bitcoin. And we know that around old all-time highs is typically where we reaccumulate before further price action. This reaccumulation can be a relatively short one, a matter of a few weeks. Sometimes it can be a really extended one, but also a very volatile one at the same time. And in 2013, we just saw a quick and strong breakout to new all-time highs and beyond. So we're really getting a standard range right over here, but we're also getting a extended one. So the fact that we're reaccumulating here, the longer the better, the more we pause and capture a breather here will be better for the uptrend that inevitably ensues afterwards. Every time we see a reaccumulation period around old all-time highs, we see an expansion period that takes place afterwards, and that is essentially unlocking that parabolic phase in the cycle. And of course, we do see diminishing returns over time. So a breakout will get us into that parabolic phase in the cycle, but it'll probably be diminished compared to the previous cycle. So if this was 1-to-1, what we saw in the previous cycle, getting us to 250,000, for example, if we were to do that 1-to-1 extension, we're probably going to see a limiting and a diminishing in that rate of return, whether it's to 100,000, 150,000, whatever the case may be. This will be a diminished rally based on what we've seen in the past, but nonetheless, this is going to be the most parabolic phase of the cycle where we see those gains come very quickly in a short space of time. You've seen it here many times before. But we also have to take into account that we do see pullbacks during this time, and they can be quite sharp pullbacks, offering those bargain buying opportunities in a parabolic phase, offering fantastic opportunities for reaccumulation before we finally top out in the cycle. 2021 also showed us that we can have deep retracements before further upside, and indeed, this was one of the deepest ones, which enabled a new all-time high to 69K. Here it was a 65K new all-time high, and then 69K right over here upon that recovery. So really important to understand that strong corrections do occur in price discovery, and price discovery is essentially price trying to discover new all-time highs, and it does do that many times over until it reaches that final new all-time high for a bull market peak before experiencing a bear market, which lasts over a year, but then we do see consolidation take place. So that's probably going to be awaiting us in the future at some point. But we need to understand that the parabolic phase in the cycle awaits. And this chart has been really accurate so far. It isn't on the logarithmic scale, of course. That needs to be said from the outset. But we have seen a fantastic price appreciation, and this price appreciation is only going to continue in the coming months. So lots to look forward to. The halving is not priced in, and the reaccumulation phase that we're currently seeing right now, the post-halving reaccumulation phase that we're seeing, is going to precede the post-halving parabolic upside phase of the cycle. And this is going to be a phase that really awaits us in the coming months. And this phase can last several months as well. So we need to wait a few months before this parabolic phase begins, but then we'll be able to enjoy it for a few good months, several months in fact. So we've already seen this upside take place to revisit these old all-time highs and even make a new all-time high in the process, but we still have a lot more upside to enjoy going forward. That's about it for today's video. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in the future. Like this video if you enjoy content like this going forward. I'm Rex Capital, and I'll speak to you in the next one. Speak to you soon.